Good morning to you. Welcome to Pen Vicarage on this Wednesday of Holy Week. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Hope you're well and cheerful. Just to remind you, we are in Holy Week now. We've got lots, both in Penn and in Tamworth. We've got lots of good services for you to engage with in the next couple of days. Do come and join us as we journey with Jesus on the last couple of days before the cross and the resurrection and so on. So do come and join us. We'd absolutely love to see you, and hope you find, and I'm sure you'd be glad you have. But in our Bible reading this morning, Jesus, remind you what's happened. Jesus is in Jerusalem. He's had his last supper with his friends. He's gone out to Gethsemane and he's agonized with God there. He's been arrested. He's been taken before the high priest Caiaphas and so on. And the Jewish authorities have decided that he should be condemned to death. But they didn't hold the power at the time. The Romans did. So in order for Jesus to be sentenced to death, he had to be taken before the governor, Pontius Pilate. And that's what we have this morning. So, without further ado, Matthew chapter 27, starting to read at verse 11. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said, "You say so." But when he was accused by the high priests and elders, he did not answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many accusations they make against you?" But he gave him no answer, not even to a single charge. So the governor was greatly amazed. Now at the festival, the governor was accustomed to release a prisoner for the crowd, anyone whom they wanted. At that time, a notorious prisoner called Jesus Barabbas. So after they had gathered, Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want me to release for you, Jesus Barabbas or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he realized that it was out of jealousy that handed him over. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, "Have nothing to do with that innocent man, for today I've suffered a great deal because of a dream about him." Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus killed. The governor again said to them, "Which of the two do you want me to release for you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "Then what should I do with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" All of them asked, "Let him be crucified." Then he asked, "Why, what evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified." So when Pilate saw that he could do nothing, but rather a riot was beginning, he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I'm innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." And the whole people as a whole answered, "His blood be on us and on our children." So he released Barabbas for them, and after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, where do you start there? Well, the last few days we've looked at Peter, we've looked at Judas, we've looked at Pilate, we've looked at various people. And the character I want to look at this morning is the kind of interesting figure of Barabbas, or to give him his full name, Jesus Barabbas, interesting enough. Now, Barabbas was, well, they call him, the hymn has him as a murderer or that sort of thing. Probably more likely he's some kind of insurrectionist, some kind of revolutionary, which means that for some of the crowd, he was probably not the baddie, probably a bit of a hero, which may explain to some extent why they asked for him. But I think the thing is that he'd been caught in the act. He was unquestionably a revolutionary. He'd unquestionably killed people, and he was unquestionably he'd been found guilty. And the thing is, at the beginning of the day, he must have known that his days are numbered. For those days in Roman times, if you were caught being a revolutionary like that, your days on this world were not long. And you knew he'd been caught in the act, and you knew he'd been found guilty, and you knew that, in a sense, that the game was up for him. But put yourself in his position, as I say, when he woke up this morning, he must have known that his days on earth are not long. Then, of course, there's this glimmer of hope, because Pilate has this tradition that once a year they release someone to release a prisoner. But even then, he'd been caught guilty, and he was killed people and so on. He must have still thought that his chances of being released are probably pretty slim, but possible. Then, of course, the choice he then realizes between him and Jesus, who he knows, he may have thought he was a bit weird, but what was he? He was a rabbi, wasn't he? Who are they going to release? A slightly weird rabbi or him? And Barabbas must have thought, my game's up. This is it for me. And then, of course, they give the crowd, and the crowd asks for him to be released. And this is one bit of the film, The Passion of the Christ, that I think that Mel Gibson does really well. Because Barabbas, when he's released, he kind of runs down the steps, and he turns round and he looks at Jesus, and then he carries on running. For Barabbas, he must have thought Christmas had come early. He must have thought that morning, my days on earth are pretty numbered. My chances of being released here are extremely remote, and especially as up against Jesus, he must have thought, he got no chance at all. But to his incredible surprise, he finds that he goes home to his wife and kids that night, whatever. He's quite surprised, incredibly surprised. I suppose the thing we need to get, though, is that Jesus literally died in Barabbas' place. Barabbas had been found guilty. He knew he was to be under sentence of death. But literally, Jesus died in his place. Barabbas would have died, but Jesus died in his place. And I guess the rest of his life, Barabbas must have known that Jesus died in his place. That Jesus died so that, in that way, meant that he can have life. But a couple of things to kind of bring out that you might not have thought of. The word Barabbas, bar in Greek means son of, and Abba means father. So it's quite interesting that when Pilate brings out the two men, Jesus and Barabbas, or should I say Jesus Christ and Jesus Barabbas, okay, in a sense what he's offering them is Barabbas, meaning son of the Father, and Jesus, the son of the Father. He's actually saying, do you want the son of the Father, or do you want the son of the Father, which is quite interesting in itself, which son of the Father do you want? So that's the choice he's kind of given. But to take it a bit further, and to bring it home to us, one thing that we all have in common, all of us, you, me, all of us, is that at some point we've all been children of a father. Even if our father died many, many years ago, even if our father we never knew, we've all had a father at some point in our lives, which means that in a sense, we are all Barabbas. We are all sons of fathers. And likewise, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So you might say that for all of us, Jesus died in our place. So, as we think today about the trial of Jesus, remember three things. Firstly, when Pilate gave them the choice, do you want Jesus or Barabbas? He was actually saying, do you want the Son of the Father or the Son of the Father? Remember that. Secondly, remember that incredible day for Barabbas himself, that he must have thought at the beginning of the day, found guilty as charged, my days on earth are numbered. But for him, Jesus literally did die in his place. But then thirdly, remember, if Barabbas means bar, means son of, but Abba means father, we are all Barabbas. And because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, for all of us, Jesus died in our place. And so with that in mind, as we consider Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and all that Jesus did, remember that Jesus died for all of us. He died so that we can have life, and we are all, in that sense, we're all Barabbas.